All right, so we're about to kick off this podcast, and the whole podcast scenario. Keep in mind, I'm just doing a intro, but the whole podcast scenario is going to be about sports around the globe. I'm an ex. Just to introduce myself, I'm a former Notre Dame basketball player. I played there from '93 to '97. Yeah, I'm telling my age. And had a blast out there in Notre Dame. I played with some professional people. You might have heard of Pat Garrity. He played for the Orlando Magic for some years. Also played with Monty Williams, the former Pistons head basketball coach, and a few others. And I just want to say this too. I got as far as also myself personally. I had an eye injury. Don't ask me why one of my teammates at Notre Dame fingernails was long, went straight through my eye and kind of messed up a lot of the trajectory that I was on. What I mean by that too is once you lose your peripheral, it changes everything on the court or any field of play. But I still, even with all of that, I still got as far as a rookie camp tryout for the Milwaukee Bucks some years ago. So I actually thought I made that. I thought I did great out there. And a friend of mine that we used to work out together by the name of Ira Newbill, they ended up keeping him. And he ended up playing for another 10 years in the league, which I was so happy for him, which is interesting. He was actually, I don't know if people knew this, but he was a vegetarian. I wouldn't call him vegan because I remember we used to go to Burger King. He would get a Whopper with everything that Whopper comes with, but no meat. And I used to be like, man, what is you doing? He was like, man, it tastes just like a Whopper. And I did go vegan at one time. He was vegetarian, but I went vegan one time for 8 months. And actually, it was the best I ever felt. I'm looking at myself now. I might need to do it again. And it was actually the best health-wise. But I'm getting sidetracked. But this podcast is about talking about sports around the globe. And again, my favorite sports are to watch nowadays. I'm a huge boxing fan. The only thing that's a step above boxing, and keep in mind, my dad was a professional fighter. He fought, and I think I got a lot of love of boxing from him. And I just started to follow it. I started to really enjoy following people from the Olympics or amateurs all the way up. Once you see them developing, it's a different type of feel when you actually start watching them as professionals. So my dad was a professional fighter. He went by the name of Young Joe Louis. He also had another name, Young Playboy Louis. And that's one of these days I might talk about that or have him on this podcast and have him explain it himself where those names came from. And so the only thing that's a step that I love that's a step above boxing is college football. That's what sparked this podcast. And I'm looking out the window now, and fall is right around the corner. And the beautiful thing about that, I think a lot of people get sad because summer is leaving. But fall is around the corner. What does fall mean? Football season. Football season is getting ready to be underway. And as a graduate from the University of Notre Dame, you know where that heads. And we got a great coach. We got great players. When Coach Brian, everybody knows, he was saying something about you can't get certain types of athletes into the University of Notre Dame. He was wrong. He was wrong. Coach Marcus Freeman is bringing those guys, those dudes. Man, I can't wait to see these guys play. We got them 300. We didn't have that last year. It was like something was always given. We don't have Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, but at the same time, we got Aeneas Williams, and we got I heard some super talented uh, underclassmen at running back. Now, here's the thing. We used to always have some type of weakness somewhere. I really have to dig in and think, where is the weakness? Last year, in my opinion, I think we were, weak up front. I feel like teams that had a good O-line, like Miami, or, they can actually push around some of our guys up front. Not anymore. Not anymore. We got some heavyweights. I'm gonna probably reference boxing a little bit, but we got some heavyweight boys. Francis, we got some heavyweight fellas up front on that D line. You ain't pushing these guys back. This is the first time in a long time that I'm hearing that the D line might actually be stronger physically. I'm not talking about as a unit, but physically. What's the word I'm thinking about? Physically, Imano, something like that. But one-on-one, going against a lineman, one-on-one, you not the old lineman that Notre Dame is known to have, be pushing those old linemen back. But not anymore. I can't wait to see what that front looks like. I looked at the blue and gold game, and that front looked good. They look solid. I didn't see nobody getting pushed around. Don't get me wrong. Our offensive line with Knapp in there, those guys are some beasts. They move well as a unit. They not only big, but they block well as a unit. Our D line, if they get, our O line can push the ball, can run the ball on anybody. But watching the D line and guys hold their space, plug up holes, seeing these guys, I'm so excited to see us dominate this year. I got a feeling we're gonna dominate. I know our schedule ain't the greatest, ain't the most difficult. We've definitely had some more difficult schedules in the past, but at the same time, a lot of these schools be running from us. I don't hear enough of that out there. And I kind of get it a little bit. I know these schools right now, you go out there, you got the Big Tens of the world, like Michigan don't want to be on the schedule. And then USC, now that they in the Big Ten, they running from us. You know what I mean? I'm say running from us because you guys are our rival. How you not want to play your rival? Are y'all not confident that you'll win the game? I keep hearing all this noise about, okay, they're in the Big Ten, so they got to play Oregon, they got to play IU, the defending champions, and then they got to play, what else? They got to play Oregon, Michigan, Iowa, IU, Ohio State, schools like that. So that's like, okay, we already got a tough schedule. Why should we add Notre Dame? If you think you can beat us, you'll add us. What's up with that? Or are you scared? Are you scared? I think you're scared. So bring it. I'm like this. Okay, now they kind of X'd out, and then what doesn't help us is, we're affiliated with the ACC, which we're not happy with the ACC. We was hearing some interesting things about the ACC, and if the right opportunity, my gut tells me, knowing Notre Dame, but it's a lot of money being independent, but my gut tells me if we were to join a conference, I feel like we're tailor-made to be in the Big Ten. And I know they would welcome us with open arms because they know there's a lot of money being tied to Notre Dame. But the way the playoff situation is set up now, in the past, when they were squeezing it to 4, it was like almost like, yeah, we might need to get in the conference. But when they expanded it to 12 and then talking about maybe 16, we're going to play y'all in the playoffs. Part of our schedule is going to be the playoffs. So, and then we win. We keep winning. Just like the year that we went to championship a few years ago. We seem so long ago right now, but the year we won the championship, we I think we had like over 20 million or something like that. And unlike other teams, we didn't have to share that with nobody. And guess what? That goes straight into the pot. We got a new facility. We got money we can offer athletes. That put us in a great position. Yes, Marcus Freeman is a great recruiter already, but then when he got some money behind him, that's why you see Notre Dame. One of the reasons you see Notre Dame as a top place for athletes. We got the money to pay these kids, just like there's a lot of other schools too. And I think about like places like Texas A&M, Texas, and you can see where a lot of athletes are going there. I think me and us, Notre Dame and Texas A&M, are neck and neck as far as the recruitment is going, because you're able. I don't care what you say. You got to be able to accommodate these athletes, the top tier athletes, that is. And so, with that said, I'm just excited to see exactly where how Notre Dame's front on defense looks, and then I'm still not 100% on the defensive coordinator, but I'm hoping these kids are bought in, and even though I'm not 100% sold on the defensive coordinator, I'm 100% sold on Marcus Freeman, who is a former defensive coordinator. So if it ain't looking right, I see Marcus Freeman making it right. And it was, it's so much I can talk about, but one of the things too is it was so interesting how he handled that situation with the defense early in the season, and he wrote and he made right the ship. And it was a period, man. That show you, man. That's why I love the coach that we got. I know that the NFL is pulling on his and tugging on his coat, but at the same time, I'm hoping he stays put. At least get a championship coach before you leave. I don't know if you're gonna see this podcast, but grab a championship for Indeed. We ain't had it in a long time, but get that championship in place. And I'm thinking you can write whatever you want anywhere. And because you're such a great communicator, I feel like he's such a great communicator. I feel like he's going to succeed wherever he goes, period. But what the thing I was saying is, the way I saw him exercise his leadership skills was so amazing to me, because the players, you can tell just from conversation, because they went from Al Golden to this new defensive coordinator, and it just seemed like they was not feeling the things he was teaching in the beginning, but and looked like he was kind of in panic mode, trying this, trying that, trying to do whatever to try to make things work, and it just wasn't meshing in the beginning. And when you have situations like that, and this is a podcast where I can kind of give you, and I've been in scenarios like that. I'm gonna just give you a little background real quick while I'm on that same topic. I played football first. I played football 7th, 8th grade. We went undefeated. We had a great coach, and it was a great team. I started to grow. I'm 6'9", 280. So I'm a big fella. I started to grow, so my dad just kept me into basketball. So football's always been my first love, though. So I started playing basketball, and I was on teams that did really well. High school, In high school, we won the state championship in the city of Detroit. Came out of high school called St. Martin de Porres. It kicked out athletes, professional athletes. Willie Burton came out of my high school. Nigel Knight played for the Phoenix Suns out of my high school. We had the Tony Tobers of the world. We had Brian Tobers of the world. Brian Tober made it to the Sweet 16 at Eastern Michigan. He did really well. We had Jason Kimbroughs of the world. Went to Iowa State. That year I went to Notre Dame, so we had a really good squad, and we went semifinals the year before. I want to say we went to quarters. My sophomore year, I think we made it to the quarterfinals. In my junior year, either quarter or semis. I think we went to the quarterfinals or something like that and got beat. And then my junior year, we won it. We won the state championship. And then a lot of our seniors, guards, which we had some great guards. Like I said, we had Eastern Michigan guard, we had Iowa State guard, and we had some Division II level guards. Our starting five all went college, played college ball. And the guys went to Cleveland State. We had some ballers on our team. And my senior year, it was rough. we lost a lot of our guard play, so it was almost felt like a rebuilding. But we still did well. We had a winning record. But then I went to college, so we struggled my first year with Monty Williams. I played with him my freshman year, and we struggled a little bit. We were competitive. We was in a lot of games, but it seemed like we just could not get over that hump. That was some fun years, though. We was independent at that time as a basketball team. And then we went to the Big East my junior and senior year. But my point in sharing all of that is sometimes you have a situation when you're in that locker room where you have guys that you can blame the coach. You can blame your teammates. It's a lot of blaming that goes on. And I saw that with Notre Dame's football team a little bit. I saw that headed that way, I should say. And I saw Marcus Freeman have in his press conference talk about, he said those exact words, really. I said, we can blame this or blame that, but at the end of the day, how are we going to get better? Man, when I heard him saying that, I was like, oh yeah, they're going to fix it. They're going to fix it. And they did fix it. And they started beating teams ridiculously. The offense, matter of fact, I was watching the Syracuse game just recently. That Syracuse game, the defense scored the first, I want to say 3 touchdowns. So the defense, they righted the ship, and then everybody was all aboard. Now this year too with the defense, and the up front still was a weak link because although I feel like we would have beat Miami in the second half of the year, but that first few games when we played Miami, I saw that Miami was actually dominating us in the middle of the field, and because of that, they those big linemen, 330 old linemen were just pushing our defensive guys up front, just moving them, getting 5, 6, 7, 8 yards of rush. And that's how you win football games. That's how you get those games. You got to have that beef up front that can run people over. I'm from Detroit. Did you see the hat? And the thing that actually we struggled the Lions team struggled because they didn't have that ability to run people over last year. And that's one of the things that was one of the weaknesses. But at the same time, you got to have the right schemes. When we lost Ben Johnson and went to Chicago, those schemes changed too. So it take a minute for teams to adjust. And so Notre Dame had to adjust. Once they adjust and they righted the ship, thanks to the leadership of Marcus Freeman. And then all of a sudden, we not only was running over teams offensively because we got Mike Denbrock. He was already a solidified coach. He was running the right plays. Jeremiah Love, Heisman candidate. So he was doing his thing on the offensive coordinator side. And then our defensive coordinator, once things started to click over there and the confidence in the guys knowing exactly where they needed to be, once that started to happen, next you know, we was really championship contenders. But honestly, I still feel like, okay, we run into maybe the Indianas or the Miamis of the world, the two teams that made it to the national championship. I'm not sure if we was ready up front. Because I saw some teams, even the teams we were playing, we were beating them, but some of those teams still was able to push us up front. But the schemes got better. Now this year, with the big fellas up front, I do not think they're going to be able to push us like that. So I'm looking forward to see what happens on the defensive side. If that defense is banging where people can't score, this season gonna be crazy. So I said all that. As you can see, this podcast gonna be full of information. And I just wanted to share, some things real quick as we enter this college football season. Most likely I'm gonna be posting maybe at least once or twice a week. Um, I might even plug in, like right now, I'm looking at my computer and I do day trading, I do swing trades as well. I might even plug a little bit of that here and there, but mostly we're gonna be talking about sports. And it's probably like on after the football games or leading to the football games, I'm gonna say what I've heard. And I got friends that's played for Notre Dame football, and might even have some of those guys on this show. And but we will see. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna get this podcast going, and here it is. We're gonna be looking at sports around the globe through the eyes of a former D1 athlete. All right, you guys take care. Till next time.